Tarantula Girl at the 2022 Spring Arlington NARBC with Nick from Buddha Bugs. Now, yeah, hello. So this is not the first time we've met. Do you remember the first time we met?
I do, yeah.
Okay, tell us about it.
Yeah, I guess it would have been. Yeah, well, I was coming, we were both coming east towards Sanderson.
Yes.
You know, I've been seeing a lot of Scolopendra heroes.
Right.
And you guys stopped, you found that little baby ornatus.
Right.
And now you were like, oh, you know, I was looking for heroes, and I've been seeing plenty of them. And then we looked over, there's one right there on the cut.
Yeah, we're like talking, and then we're like, there, you said there's one right there. I was like, yeah.
So we ended up catching that, and I guess you guys, I don't know.
Yeah.
How did it end up for you?
We hit it off and never spoke again until today.
Yeah.
Tell us about Buddha Bugs. You got some good stuff here.
Yeah, so, I mean, I kept tarantulas for a while. I got into keeping tarantulas, would have been probably 2012, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Would have been 2012. And I was just keeping them just as pets for a long time. You know, I had a bunch of stuff. I got up to like 70 species or something, but I never really bred anything. I never really had any interest in like the commercial side of it. And then probably about 2 years ago, right before COVID, I had pretty much gotten rid of, you know, I had maybe 5 or 6 left, adult females I'd had for a while. And I had this B. Amelia. I hate that species. I think they're ugly. As far as Brachypelma goes, I think they're like the least ornate of them. I just, you know, I'd always wanted to get rid of it. And a friend of mine had a male, and I was like, yeah, I'll trade it to you. And he gave me like I don't know, 8 or 10 different, you know, pokies, a couple different species, and it just got me back into it.
Oh,
you know,
nice.
I forgot how much I liked, you know, keeping tarantulas, and you know, at that point, you know, it was someone that I just met, and we just become friends, and he's got a lot of teas and stuff, and he breeds a bunch of stuff, and I just got sucked back into it, and now I've got probably 500-600 tarantulas, and I've got a bunch of stuff I'm throwing together to breed, and you know, I'm trying to probably start doing this more on a full-time sort of thing. And it's good. And then, you know, the Isopods, that's another thing. You know, I'd always had like a couple of cleanup crew species and stuff like that. And then, you know, I got this blue tree monitor. I grabbed a couple of species for cleanup crew, and that same guy actually, he sent me a couple of the Hoffman Segi, which is like one of the largest species in the world. And when he sent them to me, I was like, holy shit, these are like super cool because they're big, you know.
Right, you can actually see them.
Exactly.
They're not like a sea monkey, like, is it really there?
Right. And so then I got super into the Isopods, and now I've got like 50, 60 different, you know, species, morphs of those guys, and I don't know. I just got sucked back into it.
I didn't know there were morphs of isopods.
Oh yeah. Some of the like common cleanup crew species have got 15, 20 different morphs. I mean,
Are they different colors?
Yeah. A lot of different colors.
What's the sexiest isopod?
The sexiest isopod. So honestly, probably rubber duckies. I mean, so there's way better looking ones, but like that's like the classic pet isopod. I mean, because everyone had, you know, there was people interested in isopods, and it started really as like the dart frog people.
Right.
You know, they were keeping them as cleanup clue and feeders and stuff like that. But 2017 rolled around, and those rubber duckies were found in the wild and then brown boxed all over the world. That really sort of elevated pet keeping isopods to a whole nother level. And then, you know, now there's stuff, I mean, there's species $100, $150 a head.
That's crazy.
You know,
Roaches and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, people are really getting more into, and even like the springtails. There's a bunch of new springtails, you know, colorful oranges and stuff like that. That people are getting into heavy. The bugs are definitely, it's becoming a bigger thing for sure.
Well, definitely. So, so for someone that just is happen upon this and think it's absolutely madness, what would you say would be the advantage of keeping isopods or any kind of invertebrate as a pet versus most traditional pets?
So the isopods are actually pretty interesting.
They are.
You know, they're surprisingly interesting to watch, but then in addition to that, they're super low maintenance. I mean, some of the higher end stuff are a little bit more finicky.
Like literally you could set something up, and if your kid forgot about it for a month, probably be fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, some of my species, I mean, aside from throwing food in there once a week, which I don't even really have to do, I don't spray them down or do anything like that for 5-6 months at a time.
Tell us about your setups for your isopods. Is it all bioactive to where it's like it's a little biome ecosystem where they take care of themselves?
So yeah, most of my stuff, like I'll either use like a 6-quart shoe box tub, Sterilite tub. For my smaller stuff, I'll use the 16-quart, like the weather-tight Ziploc tubs. I have substrate, a little bit of moss on one side, leaf litter, some cuttle bone. That's pretty much all they need, and I'll give them like the morning wood, the Repashy morning wood, as a supplemental like protein food once a week. But other than that, it's super easy to take care of them. Tarantulas are the same way though. I mean, for the most part, they're super low maintenance. Some people will take care of them once, like these LP. I mean, I've got so many slings. I feed them, give them a little bit of squirt every 2-3 weeks. I mean, it's definitely not like a mammal for sure.
Yeah, definitely not.
But then even like the reptiles are way more high maintenance than most of the inverts.
Right, especially, I mean, there's some reptiles that are so specialized. I mean, it's really, they need humidity and they need certain temperatures and they need to cool for certain seasons. And they only want to eat one species of lizard or, it can be very... there's low maintenance reptiles and high maintenance reptiles. But so it's Valentine's weekend. Tell us, what was your first love? What got you into exotics? About what age were you? What happened?
So the first reptile I ever kept was a green iguana, and I got it from a local pet store. I'm from Virginia, so I got it from a local pet store, and I didn't tell my mom. I got it with her boyfriend at the time, and we sort of just surprised her, brought it home. And then, I mean, that was like, I've always liked, even when I was a kid, in the schoolyard, I was flipping boards and stuff, looking for invertebrates and reptiles, skinks, basically whatever I can find.
What animals were you able to herp there as a kid?
So, I mean, a lot of southern black racers, or I guess they're northern black racers in that area. And so that's a big thing. The eastern black rat's another big thing. Tons of different 5-line skinks, broadhead skinks.
Did you keep any of that stuff?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I used to catch, I caught, eastern copperheads. That was the first real snake I ever kept, and venomous, was eastern copperheads I caught in my yard. Common snappers. I mean, that was my big thing. I didn't really start keeping, keeping until I graduated high school.
Okay.
Before that, it was just like, I'd herp something, I'd keep it for a little bit, maybe let it go or something like that. But I definitely started more as a herper than I did like as a captive kind of guy.
Cool. Speaking of venomous, I heard you're working with some amazing things right now.
Yeah.
I have a passion for cobras. Let's talk about that.
So I used to be like a big cobra guy. Once when Randy Kuros sort of got out of the cobras a couple years back, I was sort of kind of hoping to sort of steal that helm from him and be the cobra guy. But I met my wife, and she's from China, and I ended up having to get rid of a lot of my stuff because I had multiple mamba species, taipans, 19 species of Naya, and I just didn't have anyone I could trust to take care of my stuff, and so I had to downsize so that I could go to China and stuff and see her. And so nowadays I really don't have too much. I just picked up a woody black spitting cobra, which is real exciting for me because there's really very few of those in the U.S. And so I was excited about that. And then I've got like a Chinese cobra, the Naya Atra. But mostly, I mean, I'm not really doing too many snakes anymore. Mostly because the snakes, it's like, they just require so much more upkeep. The space, way more upkeep, way harder to take care of. As far as just the amount of stuff you need to pay attention to. And so I've definitely sort of pushed my way towards the inverts for sure. The way more prolific, for starters. Way more prolific, they mature way sooner, and they take up way less space, and they, I don't know, there's kind of more interesting and from like a breeding perspective, because they just, you know, they're shorter lived and then their maturation is way sooner. So
the force is strong with this one. Anton, I am your father.
What are you guys doing?
Cyclops man on the prowl.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Neat.
Hey, what are you doing? Even though we have a lot of fun, Midwest Tongs is where we get all of our supplies, like the mini tongs, the standard hooks, the tub pullers, the field hook, the grabbers, the large python hook, and more. Check out MidwestTongs.com. Give that to me. And the most important piece, the life-saving device that we have actually used, the Venom Lock.
Remember, no animals were harmed in the filming of this video, nor should any animals ever be harmed with Tongs.com equipment. That is the equipment to use.
So I heard, I've kept spitting cobras before, and they were pretty docile as far as spitting cobras go, but you have actually been affected by spitting cobra venom. So I'm dying to know about it.
Yeah, when I was younger, I had a real annoying habit of always like opening tubs and forgetting, like, oh yeah, this is one of the spitters, I need to throw in a mask. And so there was quite a few times where I managed to get nailed in the eye from a bunch of different species, just out of honestly pure stupidity.
So what were the effects of that? Did you ever worry it was life-threatening?
So no, I wasn't really worried about that, but I definitely have got very noticeable effects from it. Like I've got, even now, like my eyes are really, really light sensitive.
Okay.
Even when it's pretty cloudy outside, my wife's always joking on me because I'm always squinting, you know, and that's definitely something I've noticed. I mean, but the immediate effects were obviously the swelling, and you know, every subsequent day when I'd wake up, my eye. I mean, I don't know if I call it a burn. You know, like I was saying, it's definitely more like you've got like 100 eyelashes in your eyes. It's like this really weird feeling. It's definitely that feeling of there's something in my eye, I can't get it out. You know, it's definitely that sort of feeling. And, you know, and then it'll cause the discharge in the eye, and then when you're asleep, obviously that crusts over,
right?
And you'll wake up and your eyes crust shut, and it's definitely not a fun situation. And nowadays, I'm a lot better about remembering to grab a mask, because
good.
it's one of those things, like, it's really easy to do, and there's no reason not to do it. I would always forget it, you know, because I'm just going through stuff, you know, and not thinking, oh, hey, I need to grab a mask for this one.
So it is Valentine's weekend, so tell us about your beautiful new wife.
Yeah, so we've been married for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in March.
Happy anniversary.
Appreciate you. And, you know, she's a Chinese citizen from Beijing. And I actually met her on Instagram.
Oh, awesome.
Because she's been keeping spiders for a while.
Oh, cool.
And she was just a profile that I had found. She had a real cute cat, and she kept spiders, and so I followed her, and you know, we followed each other for a while, for years before we ever really talked and met. And yeah, one day I was super bored, you know, at night. You know, and there's a 12-13 hour time difference. I didn't have anyone to talk to, and I just DM'd her on Instagram.
Awesome. The rest is history.
Mom, I want a Lego set.
A Lego set? Are you bored?
Yeah.
I can give you something better. This is like Legos for adults. Let's put this Zillow micro habitat together.
But Mom, this doesn't look anything like Legos. Do you think that maybe we could build it together?
Let's do it.
I know my destiny.
Now, wasn't that fun?
Yes, I love you, Mommy.
I love you too. Zilla. Fun for the whole family. Tell us about any upcoming projects you have.
Yes, I've paired a couple of things in the last couple of months. I've got a Poecilithera regalis, Tiger Wesleyanii, Hottie Hottie. I've got Subfusca lowland. I tried to pair. I mean, I don't know, the way she's acting, you know, the first time I introduced them, it went really well. She was really super into it, and now she won't let the male anywhere near her. And so that might have been successful. I didn't really get an eyeball in the insert, but it might have been successful. And then I've got a couple other things I should be breeding soon: Harpactira pulchripes, P species Arusha, and the red color form OBT, that's another one. Poecilithera Miranda. I've sent out lowland and highland Subfusca males to some people, so I should be seeing some success on that as well. I sent a Poecilithera Smithy male out to somebody as well.
Wow, I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So what's your bucket list animal that you've never had but you want? No holds barred, whether it's legal, endangered.
So one of the big things I've always wanted is that Avranus varius, lace monitor.
Yes.
That's always been a big species that I've always wanted. I mean, and then like any of the what should probably soon to be reclassified as Indo-Chinese king cobra. Any of the banded king cobra form localities, the Chinese, any of the Eastern Indian, Western Indians, the Vietnamese, any of the Chinese. That's always been something I've really wanted. I've kept kings before, but they were either Malayan or Indos or a cross between the two. And
what's your position on free handling kings?
I'm a big time free handler.
Okay.
I always have been, and a lot of people in the hobby hate me for it. You know, that I've got a lot of people in the hobby that don't like me because that's what I'm known for.
Have you been tagged?
Yep, I've been bitten before. I used to SI with 23 different species every week. You know, one of the largest regiments out of anyone besides William Haas.
Wow. What kind of venom were you injecting?
And so I was using, you know, so I'm missing the side of my thumb from a Western cottonmouth, but that's like the only like.
So was that venom you injected, or was that a bite?
So that was a bite.
Okay.
From a young female. It's probably, I don't know, maybe a foot. It wasn't very big, but she bit and she would not let go.
So tell me why you were injecting. What was your goal or your purpose or your idea?
My whole ideal behind it was I was trying to do it as part of my graduate thesis.
Oh wow!
I never ended up. Because life happened, I never actually ended up going to graduate school after I graduated. But I was planning on actually doing legitimate scientific work on it.
So was your undergraduate work in herpetology?
So yeah, it was on conservation of herps. I wrote my thesis on the conservation of the eastern Massasauga.
I'd like to read that.
And so that was, the school I went to, College of William and Mary, second oldest university in the United States.
Wow.
Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, they all went to that school. And my degree was interdisciplinary studies, wildlife conservation and ecology, and I was focusing primarily on the herps. But yeah, and so.
Why were you injecting?
Oh yeah, I mean it was one of those things. I wanted to study the effects of it. I mean it was something that interests me, and then at the same time, like most of that antivenom is expensive, man. I mean it's not super hard to get the permits. If you put your mind to it to stock it. But I had a lot of different species. At one point I was keeping 130.
So were you trying to make anti-venom?
I mean, yeah, it's just like any other immunization effort, just like a flu shot, the whole idea behind it.
So were you trying to develop immunity for yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially because coupled with the free handling, I mean, there was always going to be a risk that I was going to be tagged, and it was better to not die from it.
So so you were milking the snakes, would you inject it immediately? Were you sterilizing it? Were you using clean needles?
Yeah. Yeah, so I would do an extraction, and then I would sort of makeshift freeze dry it in the freezer.
Okay. Okay, so you were self-injecting with the goal of having immunity against these venoms. Did it work? Did you
yeah.
ever find out?
Oh yeah, I've been bitten by quite a lot of different species, which is not really something I'm like super proud
Right,
of.
of course.
Most of them were not from free handling.
Okay.
You know, I have been bitten a few times in instances that could be considered free handling. I got bit by a young beaded. I had it in my hand. You know, I was reaching up to grab some calcium powder or something to put in its food. And you know how they are when they're young. They're
Adorable.
It did that and sort of jumped off my hand, and I went to catch it so it didn't smack the ground, and it latched onto my thumb. And so like been bit like that. But honestly, most of the bites that I've had have been from force feeding. I got bit by a Bothrops atrox, slipped a pin, got me in the hand. It's a young, the yellow ones, the Venezuelan color form that people used to call Colombianensis. Got bit by that. That was actually my first bite, and that was before I had really started doing SI. And it was a pretty young animal, and I got real lucky.
So,
I mean, it was a single fang.
What was the effect?
And so I got a little bit of necrosis in the pinky area, and the swelling went up to my elbow. And I mean, it hurt like hell, and the whole inside of my bicep and stuff was black and blue. But I didn't get anti-venom, you know, and it was a real lucky situation because that's a pretty serious bite. It could have been way worse, and so I got lucky with that. But yeah, I mean, most of my bites have been slit pins. You know, I used to get a lot of younger imports and stuff like that that weren't eating. And you know, there's always the option to tube them, but I've always been more of a hands-on guy. I've always liked doing that better, feeling it in my hand to make sure I'm not sort of overdoing it. And unfortunately, that's sort of
It's very high risk.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the risk associated with necking snakes like that.
So how have you evolved since then? Now that you have a wife and you're a little wiser.
Yeah, I mean, so I definitely do still free handle.
Okay.
I haven't done SI in a couple of years.
Why not?
Anytime anybody asks me about SI, I tell them they shouldn't do it.
Good.
It's not really something that I think the normal lay person should be doing. It doesn't really serve a large use for just your normal average keeper. You know, if it's going to be beneficial, it's going to be beneficial to someone like a researcher,
right.
Or a venom lab or something. Somebody that has got like real reason to be doing it. It's definitely, anytime I hear and people ask me about it, and I tell them, it's not something that I suggest people should do. And the biggest reason is, I mean, there's no real reason to do it. I mean, using safe handling, having anti-venom, and that sort of thing is a better option to getting bit. Because the whole point of SI is to help you if you get bit. But if you do your best not to get bit, then there's not really any reason to do it. And the action of doing it, extracting the venom and stuff, puts you at higher risk for a bite.
I agree.
And so it's sort of circular logic. There's not really any reason that most people should be doing it.
So what were the worst? Because I'm sure you had effects from injecting. Tell us what maybe a bad example of something negative that happened.
I mean, so the reason that I stopped is the last injection I ever did, I had a really bad allergic reaction. And it had happened a handful of times throughout the years. And I could never really nail it down. It definitely was not a venom compound. I wasn't using a centrifuge, and so I had bacteria, skin cells, saliva, and a bunch of other stuff that were in when I was injecting. And it definitely appeared to be that I developed an allergic reaction to one of those additional things that were in it, because it wouldn't happen every time.
Well, those aren't things that you should be introducing into your bloodstream.
Exactly. And so, one of the last times that I did it, I had a real bad, I broke out in hives across most of my body, and that was the reason that I stopped. And I had planned to start again once I got my hands on some spun venom that was, just the venom and not any, additional stuff out of it. And I've just never gotten around to it. I started getting
to do that again.
It might. I mean, if I ever get a big collection again, I might start doing it again. But right now, with the couple of snakes I have, I mean, there's just no real reason for it. I rather stock my own anti-venom. That's a way smarter way to resolve the issue.
Safer, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, doing the extractions opens you up to a bite more than any other thing you could be doing.
That's like the people that get bitten by an Atrox because they were chasing it down on their ranch and trying to cut its head off with a shovel.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
And it'll live in its little hole, and
exactly.
You wouldn't have gotten bitten.
Yeah.
Is there anything else important that you feel like you want to tell people about your business? Or?
So like you were saying though, some of the first few injections I did, I was sort of like feeling my way at it,
right?
And I definitely made some mistakes, and I know someone that did SI and killed themselves doing it, because a lot of people don't realize how little amount of venom it takes to be lethal for a lot of those species.
Well, no one knows because not a lot of study has been done on many
And so like the species that I started with first was Nyakuthia. I had a Sufan, and the first few injections I did way too much. There's not really any reason to do it. And like I said, it was something that I was trying to look into from more of a scientific thing, just because I've always been interested in toxicology. The average layperson absolutely should not be doing it, because if you don't have things like micropipettes and stuff like that, you can make a lethal choice, and it can definitely go bad for you. And
I hate to say it, although that would be a loss of a life, it hurts the animals and the industry.
Absolutely.
And so that's like a big picture. The animals would likely be euthanized.
Yep.
And the media gets a hold of this information, and these animals killed this poor person.
Yep.
And it's like it has that butterfly effect of
it's definitely
negative.
a bad look for sure.
It's very negative. And so yes, be safe, everyone. All right, this was so awesome. It was wonderful running into you guys again, and hopefully it won't be this long the next time.
He was saying you guys moved to West Texas.
Yeah.
I normally go there once a month during the season.
Well, our doors are open to you. Come crash at our house or play with our collection or whatever you want to do.
Nice. Appreciate you.
Well, we will drop all of Nick's contact information in the description box below. Hit him up, and we'll see you guys next time.